uh, group that.
Hold on a second, just one more. Sorry. Okay.
See, the group that I'm affiliated with is a committee for the proper enforcement of the motor vehicle code. And a lot of people believe that, because everybody has to license an automobile, that's required by law. So we started checking into the motor vehicle code going back to 1905 and coming forward. And in 1911, the legislature amended the existing law, and they restricted the requirements to certain classes of vehicles and certain classes of drivers. And so in 1911 law, Chapter 174, General Laws of Oregon, 1911, regulated for hire vehicles and drivers called operators and chauffeurs. Well, a chauffeur is someone who is paid for the purpose of driving. So a vehicle is for hire if somebody is running a livery stage or a taxi cab or a trucking company hauling freight for hire, or passengers for hire. That's the usage of for hire vehicles. So if you're going to the store to buy a loaf of bread, you're not operating a vehicle for hire. What license would you have to have? So you start asking yourself these questions and saying, well, what licenses does Oregon issue? You go to the vehicle code and find in Chapter 807, 031, the three classes of license, and it's A, B, and C commercial. So if the state sells a commercial driver's license, they sell commercial motor vehicle registrations, commercial motor vehicle titles, what requirement is there for you if you have a solely for personal use automobile? And what you find out is that there's no law in Oregon that compels you to, first of all, title your vehicle or register it. But it's being done, and you're being coerced into buying it, because if the police officers see you without a license plate on your car, they pull you over, stop you, and run you through the mill. I need to see a driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. So what are these documents required for? Well, see, commercial vehicles that are being operated for hire. That's who's required by law to have those documents. How about the rest of us? Is this the socialist states of America, where you drive down the road and the first police officer sees you, doesn't like what you're doing, pulls you over, throws his lights on, walks up and says, "Papers, please"? They always demand your papers. I've been to Russia. They don't demand your papers in Russia. Yeah? They don't stop you in Russia unless they think you have a stolen vehicle. And then they're going to want to see your documentation for your vehicle. They're not asking for a driver's license. In Russia, they have driving rights. What's wrong with our country? Where are we going here? I have to carry a plastic piece of paper in my pocket and hand it out to a police officer. Oh, here it is, officer. But
and what is the remedy that to this?
So what we've done here is, through our investigation, we found all these problems with the vehicle code. It's being arbitrarily enforced. People are coerced into going into a trafficking court, and the judge is working against you. He's not really a judge, he's an administrator. But they work against the individual citizen for the purpose of revenue generation. In a case of Camas Stage Company versus Kosher, and Kosher was the Secretary of State of Oregon at that time, the Supreme Court of Oregon ruled that the Motor Vehicle Code, by its express terms, is a revenue measure. It's a privilege tax on operating these special vehicles on a public highway. In 2007, the House and Senate adopted HB 3445, which is a redefinition of the term highway. In that definition, it states that members of the general public have use of the highways for vehicles and vehicular traffic as a matter of right. How can we have the use of the highways as a matter of right and be required to have a license and a permit to drive down the highway? See, there's too many problems here.
Is it a right or is it a privilege?
Yeah, it's either a right or it's a privilege. You can't have a situation where we're going to combine a right and a privilege, and then we're going to attach a license and a fee to it and say, well, in order to exercise a right, you have to have this license and pay this privilege tax. You cannot do that. So what I've done is I got accosted by some public servants over in Redmond, Oregon, and I decided to take my case to the court. So I filed suit in the District Court of the United States, and I didn't go to the trafficking court because I didn't feel that the traffic ticket gave the court jurisdiction over my person or my automobile. So if I'm not engaged in a regulated activity, how can the government acquire jurisdiction over you by issuing you an invitation to go into a trafficking court and go in there and have your rights violated by an administrative hearings officer? We call them AHOs for short. So I didn't go to the traffic court. Normally what they do, the normal procedure is they swear out a warrant for your arrest, called a bench warrant, and then they find you and they take you and they lock you up. Well, I think it's general knowledge around Oregon now that I'm on a special catch and release program. So when they catch me, they immediately release me because they don't want me to file suit against them in the Ninth Circuit where I'm at now. So I started in the District Court of the United States. Of course, the state comes around and says, well, they're going to do a motion to dismiss because I failed to state a claim. It's always their excuse. First thing they do is, this is the flurry of motion stage where the state tries to protect their armed brigands by doing a motion to dismiss against a private citizen who sues them. Well, I just submitted a petition for rehearing en banc to the Ninth Circuit because the Ninth Circuit agreed with them and said I'd failed to state a claim. So now I did a petition for rehearing en banc and a memorandum of support, and that's back in the Ninth Circuit's lap, and we have to see what they're going to do next. But the long and the short of this is that once people start learning the truth about the motor vehicle code, and we start putting our police officers and sheriffs on notice of what their responsibility is to us, because we the people are the final say-so. It's not up to the government to make laws for us. It's up to the government to obey the Constitution and make laws in the areas that they were delegated authority to make laws in. The minute they step outside of that limited authority, they violate the supreme law of the land and they trespass on our rights. And who has a right to tell the government that they're a trespasser? We do. We the people, right? That's the first three words in that document called the Constitution. It's not going to be the county commissioners and the city council or the local police department or even the sheriffs who are going to come and protect our rights. They're required to by law, but are they going to? And what do we do when they don't? I think Sheriff Mack is doing a marvelous job in what he's doing. I commend him for what he's doing because he's speaking out and telling these sheriffs and police officers what they need to be doing. If they obeyed their oath of office and obeyed the laws as written, they would clearly see that you can't control for hire vehicles and chauffeurs and operators and say, well, everybody's an operator. Everybody's driving a commercial motor vehicle because it has a license plate on it. It must be commercial. But does it have a DOT number on it? I think one case recently, it was a 2006 case called United States of America versus Robert J. Herrera. This was a Kansas case. It went to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. And Herrera was stopped driving a Ford 1-ton with a power lift tailgate on the back and had a paint company sign on the back. And the police officer stopped him and demanded proof that he had insurance. Herrera couldn't do that, so he cop arrested him and in the process searched his vehicle. And he found 17 kilos of cocaine. Well, all of a sudden now Mr. Robert J. Herrera has rights. He gets an attorney. The attorney does a motion to suppress the evidence of an illegal search without a warrant because all the stuff was done under Kansas's motor vehicle code, which regulates commercial motor vehicles. And their definition of a commercial motor vehicle was 10,001 pounds and above. Herrera's truck only weighed 10,000 pounds. And any police officer in Kansas should know from his experience that Herrera's truck didn't fall within its regulatory scheme. Well, now, what about Oregon's commercial motor vehicles? They start at 26,001 pounds. Well, gee, what right does a police officer have then of stopping a private automobile? Does it weigh 26,001 pounds? Does an average police officer know that it doesn't weigh 26,001 pounds or more?
When was the light